Sinn Féin have been accused of using SLAPPs to prevent criticism and debate about various aspects of what Sinn Féin or certain Sinn Féin individuals have done in the past. A SLAPP, just to be clear, is a strategic lawsuit against public participation. And in that context, the High Court in Northern Ireland has thrown out a case brought by Sinn Féin MLA Gerry Kelly for defamation. He brought the case against two journalists, Dr. Malachy O'Doherty and Ruth Dudley Edwards. And the Master of the High Court in Belfast described Kelly's proceedings as scandalous, frivolous and vexatious, and an abuse of process so blatant it would be utterly unjust if the court were to allow the proceedings to continue. And he struck out the proceedings against the writer and journalist Dr. Malachy O'Doherty. The politician Gerry Kelly, the MLA, claimed that he was defamed in two radio interviews in 2019 when he said Mr. O'Kelly had shot a prison officer during an IRA escape from the Maze prison outside Belfast in 1983. Mr. Kelly was in 1973 sentenced to life imprisonment for his part in the IRA bombings of two locations in London, and then 10 years later he was involved in a mass breakout from prison, during which one prison officer died of a heart attack and another was shot. The Master of the High Court established that whether or not it was Mr. Kelly or his companion who actually pulled the trigger, the content of two books he subsequently wrote about the escape appears to make Mr. Kelly civilly liable on the balance of probabilities for the shooting of Mr. Adams. In the light of this, he held that the defamation proceedings were completely untenable. He also said that in one of the books, Mr. Kelly admits that during the escape he was armed with a gun and threatened to shoot a prison officer. It was therefore scandalous and vexatious for Mr. Kelly in such circumstances to claim damages for defamation. Such proceedings, the Master of the Belfast High Court said, bore the hallmarks of a SLAPP, that is, a strategic lawsuit against public participation. And Sinn Féin in the South then have been accused of using SLAPPs as well. Sinn Féin has denied using SLAPPs. In particular, Mary Lou MacDonald repeatedly denies using SLAPPs, and obviously points out that Sinn Féin, like anybody else and any individual in Sinn Féin, are entitled to bring legal proceedings where their good name has been traduced and has been affected and so on. In Dr. O'Doherty's case, however, and this is one of the problems with these the Sinn Féin's policy, which appears to include not only suing the publication or the newspaper, but also individuals. So in Dr. O'Doherty's case, this SLAPP or this legal proceedings was exacerbated by the practice of deploying the lawsuit against him as an individual rather than against the broadcasters, the BBC and U105, where the comments were made. So Sinn Féin could have simply sued the BBC and U105, but they didn't. They sued Dr. O'Doherty. This leaves him and any journalist facing both considerable financial risk and personal stress if he chooses to defend himself. And the approach has been used against journalists and political opponents, including Ruth Dudley Edwards, who faces a similar action from Mr. Kelly. And the Irish Times journalist Harry McGee, he was named personally alongside the newspaper in a case taken by a Sinn Féin TD in Dublin. So the Gerry Kelly case obviously is in Northern Ireland, it's a different jurisdiction, but the case taken against the journalist Harry McGee and the Irish Times journalist and the Irish Times taken by a Sinn Féin TD in Dublin is obviously in the Republic of Ireland. Sinn Féin, according to Mary Lou MacDonald, does not have a policy of taking defamation actions against the media, but she added that when a line is crossed, people have the right to use the mechanisms available to them to vindicate their name. That's fair enough. However, there is concern that they are strategically using legal proceedings against certain journalists and against certain line of questioning. The media would argue that such cases have far-reaching effects on the freedom of the press and for its core function to hold the powerful to account. Monday's judgment was a significant defeat for Sinn Féin on the Northern Courts, or in the Northern Courts. Mr. Kelly has said he's going to take time to study the decision with his legal advisor, and Sinn Féin will probably do the same. The Union Irish Secretary of the NUJ, Seamus Dooley, says that this decision, it remains to be seen whether it's going to give those intent on using SLAPPs pause for thought. Again, just to be clear, a SLAPP is a strategic lawsuit against public participation. In other words, it would be something that would be used to have sort of a chilling effect on a journalist or journalists or newspapers who might be adopting a particular line of questioning that a politician or a political party may not be comfortable with. That is a significant setback for Gerry Kelly in the North, and obviously it's going to have legal or cost consequences as well, but the decision, the determination of the Master of the High Court in Belfast to describe it basically as an abuse of process is a fairly damning finding. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, I'd appreciate if you give it the thumbs up down below. Thanks a lot.